And I say good morning to Las Vegas, good morning to Charles Robinson, who is the Vice President, Western Hemisphere for Hospitality at Avaya Corporate. Hello, Charles.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm excellent. And yourself?
I'm great here in Las Vegas.
Are you locked up at home?
Yeah, like most people around the United States, we are on lockdown along with Las Vegas. So the great American amusement park is shut down for everyone's safety, but hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll be up and running and everything will be at least back to normal as best as we can get it.
Having been there, it must be quite spooky because normally it's the other city that doesn't sleep, and lots of people on the sidewalks and at the hotels, and now it's dead, I suppose.
It is completely empty. I was down on the Strip just for a quick drive because I was being a little naughty last Friday, and there's absolutely no one there. The city's taking advantage of that and doing a little construction, and the casinos seem to be cleaning the outside of places that normally they couldn't get to. But it is scary how you could literally shut down an area that usually has probably a couple 100,000 people on it. And it just, it's like a movie, right? It's like eerie.
It is unbelievable. Tell us a little bit, for those few people who don't know what Avaya is, in a couple of sentences, what do you guys do?
So Avaya is a multinational technology company, and we're based in California. And we specialize primarily in business communication. So you'll find that a lot of the large companies that you're familiar with that have call centers or communications technology use Avaya behind the scenes. Some of our larger customers in finance would be, Bank of Montreal for call center technology, Marriott, and in my area of the company, we focus primarily on communications within hospitality. So, when you're at a property or a resort and you pick up that phone that's in the room that you want to call down to the front desk or make orders on, that technology most likely has been implemented and supported by Avaya.
Okay, right. Now, the crisis that we find ourselves in, people are talking about hotels of the future, hotel rooms of the future, whatever. Now, I've got my own view on that, how it will develop and whatever, but I'm convinced and I believe that there will be some changes that will come through. Some of them might be only temporary, and others might be longer term. Now, with the technology, which is obviously, or has been in the past few years, the first stop where people say, oh, change is happening, it's technology-based. What change would you see with your background, with your experience, that would help people to cope with some of the challenges that we're faced with now and going forward?
So, right now, the new term that didn't exist a year or two ago is social distancing, right? And of course, as many people are aware, that is probably going to be the new norm for quite some time. And in a city like Las Vegas, for an example, it's almost impossible to believe that there's actually a way to do this, right? There's a city that has, at any given time, 100,000 people wandering around looking at lights and things or enjoying themselves in the casino. Makes it really challenging. So for hotels, especially in the higher end properties, social distancing will be a challenge. And they've already started looking at technology to sort of help with that. So, and a great example is when you check in. While it would be unusual for a front desk clerk to have a mask on as well as you, once again, that might be the norm. And some of the properties that want to give people extra security apart from just wearing masks or using, disposable items at the front desk are things like kiosks. Kiosks in the past, were kind of looked down upon because it was impersonal or there may have been security risks. But I see that will definitely become the new norm in the future, where people will be able to either check in directly at a kiosk that could be sanitized fairly quickly, or even check in at an airport. To imagine yourself getting off the plane, going directly to a kiosk even before you get your bags, checking in, getting your key and everything, and then literally being able to go directly to your room. So that's one major change, that the technology has been around for a while. It hadn't really been adapted because hotels can't really figure out which way to go with it. But, right now I'm talking to a couple of customers that are looking past all of the compliance issues, all the security issues, and they're literally looking to implement that. So don't be surprised if you start checking in hotels and seeing, 10, 15, 20 kiosks in areas where guests can check in and have that, extra piece of security.
And mobile technology as well, you reckon? I mean, it's because that's again it's also something which maybe has been slow in adaptation or being adopted by.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that in some instances, mobile technology has been adapted for people who are very loyal to a particular brand, right? So if you're a Hilton person or a Marriott person or Accor or or IHG, you're already using that application to book your hotel room and maybe get your key. But for the average person that's just traveling maybe once or twice a year, that technology has been relatively new, and some people can find it pretty invasive, right? They don't really want to give out some personal details. They just want to check in and get a key. Now I see that happening as fairly regularly. Like I said, people are going to look for ways to social distance and avoid not only dealing with somebody at the hotel, because maybe they're afraid of that person, but large and mass crowds. So, other types of technology, would be things in the room, tablets in the room. There's technology that we offer with different partners that allow you to do things like, order room service without necessarily having to worry about going down to a restaurant, right? That's another aspect of the property that may or may not open anytime soon.
The return of room service.
Yeah, in Las Vegas, we have huge buffets. I don't see buffets opening up anytime soon. And even if they do, it's not going to be worth it, right? The food cost is going to be outrageous and people just aren't going to, go down there and solicit it. So people will probably order from their room, right? And then you'll have situations where, whoever's delivering the food will leave it at the door, right? And you open the door. So some of the technology that we have, right, with some of our partners is a way to track when you do an order and see exactly where that order is in process. So you order a cheeseburger, it says the order is accepted, it tells you the order is being prepared, it tells you it's now being delivered, and it gives you sort of a window into what's happening so that you feel more comfortable opening the door, grabbing your order. And also it gives the hotel an opportunity to maybe make some sales that normally they wouldn't make, and limit the amount of calls that they get asking, where things are. Here's what's interesting. The thing about social distancing is that it makes things very impersonal. So when people use devices to order things, they become very impatient, right? And they will start calling and asking questions. So imagine 2,000 or 3,000 people all on these devices, right? Ordering something and they have no idea what's happening, right? So that's a whole nother aspect for hotels to have to deal with now, is how do you limit that type of frustration and how do you fix things? So, with companies like Avaya, because we're in communications, we're looking at solutions that allow people to, use in-room devices. Like I have, something that's similar to this that has a tablet built onto it. That allows the hotel to track exactly what's happening, so that they can kind of throttle and consolidate things to limit their exposure to guests as well as guests to them. And help keep the hotel at least performing the way it should, and possibly making a little money. I mean, this is all going to be a shock for the industry pretty soon. Yeah,
in-room sales might also be something which might see a return. Not only room service, but also in-room sales like minibars that a lot of hotels were phasing out and turn to grab and go kind of concept.
Right.
Which would drag you down to the lobby again, whereby if you have it in your room, it might be more. So I think there are opportunities there that one can use. And a lot of hotels have still got the infrastructure in place, with minibars and.
Well, and here's what's interesting about that technology. So once again, going back to the social distancing and paranoia phase, you're right. A lot of hotels were phasing out minibars. For some hotels, it's a standard, right? If you're a particular type of property, you have to offer that service. And so that has been a topic of discussion with a lot of properties. How do I provide that extra level of service to my customers, but at the same time not have to have someone go in and clean every single item in that minibar? Because, I saw an article not too long ago, you can't go to the market anymore and just pick up fruit, and put it back down, right? It'll scare the daylights out of people. So once again, looking at the mobile technology, looking at the in-room technology, there will be ways where you can inventory those items and have them delivered. Now, it's a little bit more work, but at the same time, it does give the property an opportunity to, have an additional revenue stream without pulling out, the mini bars or having them sit there, or that additional cost of having people constantly going and cleaning. This is the big challenge, right? How do I keep a place clean enough to satisfy the guests, but not, bankrupt myself doing the same thing, and also not have to deal with social media? One of the challenges that hotels face with technology is the social media aspect. It only takes one bad piece of information to get out on social media and speak
Right.
everywhere, right? So once again, the way to eliminate that will be, you know, mobile apps, tablets, and things where you can have conversations with the guest directly, but not necessarily face to face, and sort of judge what's happening. You know, one of the more popular aspects of that device is that if someone checks in and they have an issue, you're able to send them a message through that device, right? Which is not necessarily as invasive as the phone, and say, you know, how is your experience? And if they say they're not having a good experience, it gives you an opportunity to tackle it right away. Right? And that's going to be happening a lot. A lot of people are very afraid. They'll see someone sneeze and, you know, panic, right? They don't have little workers around to clean that up right away.
Sure.
It's going to be really interesting, to say the least.
Look, I think that's great news in a way. I mean, that we're being forced or coerced into adopting something which has been around for a while, and you know, we're now doing it because we have to. And I'm sure that a lot of those will remain. But I personally believe that some other norms will come back. But with the addition to those ones that make things a bit easier. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. I just want to take one little thing. Positivity is there apart from this? I mean, that was for me already a very positive message to say that we have got technology that can help us with certain things. Any other things that you see that might change, that might make us different as far as business?
Well, you know, it's amazing. You know, you really quickly, you see these movies where there's a crisis and the whole world sort of comes together to figure out how to fix the problem, even when they have differences. And I see a lot of that happening in the hotel industry. There's a lot of partners that typically wouldn't work together, you know, because they're competitors, really pulling together to make things happen. And, you know, I'm working with companies like Infor and Avgo and Avaya. And although we do different things, you know, our goal is to get the industry back up and running. So there are a lot of smart people that are getting together to make things happen. And a lot of people are not just looking at the guest services end of it. They're now looking at what's happening behind the scenes. And I think that sometimes those people are forgotten about. I think, you know, like in the United States, we're talking about those frontline workers that people just don't pay much attention to. It's happening in the hotel industry. In Vegas, a lot of the employees were still able to get checks from some of the big casinos. They're looking at making sure those people are taken care of. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing that, you know, they've taken the time to appreciate that these people make this city run, and that they're important, and that there's technology out there that will make their lives a lot easier and a lot less stressful. And hopefully, you know, they'll be able to take that stress-free existence and pass it on to a good guest experience.
Great, Charles, with those words, you know, people come first, and technology has to help people. I think that's the right way to go. Thank you so much for your time. I send great regards to Las Vegas. Stay safe, stay well, and let's hope that we recover very soon from this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we hope to see you soon out here.
Thank you.
Thanks.